Hi, my name is Nicholas. Welcome to this week's Hatha practice. For props for today, a couple hard blocks and a soft block will be handy, and then anything else you like to practice with. And when you're ready, I'll invite you to get started down on the back, either in a Shavasana-like shape or in a reclined butterfly. So if you want to have your props nearby where you think you might need them, and then make your way down as you feel ready. If you're coming with me for butterfly, you can take the feet together, the knees apart, maybe supporting the thighs with your hard blocks. Find a version of your chosen shape that feels comfortable for today, adding in any support that you might need. And check in as well. Maybe you're not quite ready for stillness. Maybe something feels a little fidgety and you need some movement first. But whenever you do feel ready, come and find your stillness. Feel the support of the floor. Let your body start to get heavy here. And taking a scan through the body just to notice. And checking in with any parts of the body that might need a little extra attention today or a little extra care. And as you feel ready, you start to bring your attention to your breath. And without changing it necessarily, starting to notice your inhales and your exhales. And from this place of quiet, gently invite the breath to deepen. Encouraging a smooth quality to your breath. With each inhale, inviting a little more air into the lungs. With each exhale, a little more release. And check in and see if you'd benefit from more time in this shape. You're welcome to stay exactly as you are, working with your breath. When you do feel ready to move, you might gently guide the knees in together, maybe extending the legs long down the mat. Perhaps taking a full body stretch, reaching the arms up overhead, lengthening the whole body, maybe wiggling the shoulders and the hips. You can release the arms by the sides once again as you're ready. Rebend the knees, this time with the feet a little bit wider than the hips. Gently start to windshield wiper the knees side to side. And when you feel ready to, you can bring the knees back into center and then extend the legs long down the mat. And from here, you can scoot the hips over towards the left a few inches and then take the feet a little bit towards the bottom right. You can work with the lower body or reach the arms up towards the top right until you're in a crescent moon shape. And keep that left hip nice and heavy here, and to target that stretch through the whole left side of the body. If you'd like to exaggerate it a little bit, you might take the left wrist over the right, maybe the left ankle over the right. Imagine you could breathe into that whole left side of the body. With each inhale, finding a sense of space. With each exhale, a sense of release. If the wrist and ankle are crossed, you can release them and gently bring everything back to midline. And then setting for the second side, hips to the right, feet towards the bottom left, maybe arms towards the top left. Right hip nice and heavy, and things might feel a little different here, so feel free to change your expression or add some props in. If you did the crossing on the first side, you can do it here. Notice that stretch through the whole right side. And gently start to release everything back to center. You can rebend the knees. This time bring the knees in towards the chest. Wrap the arms around the shins. Give yourself a hug and a gentle rock side to side. And then you can bring the hands behind the knees, gently start to rock up and down the spine, mindful not to put pressure on the neck. And then as you're ready, you can build up some momentum, coming up towards a seat. And then you can swing the legs out around, come to a tabletop position. From your tabletop, lower down onto the forearms. Bring the elbows roughly underneath the shoulders. The hands can be interlaced, or you can have the forearms parallel if that's more comfortable for you. And then from here, step one foot to the back of the mat and then the other, coming to find forearm plank. And if you need to lower the knees, once again, you're welcome to. Now they'll be behind the hips. If there's pressure to the low back, you could also play with lifting the bum a little higher, see how that feels. Wherever you are, make sure you can still breathe that smooth, deep breath. Soften anything you don't need here. It might be the space around the eyebrows or the mouth. Last few deep breaths here. Deep inhale and deep exhale. Once more like that. Inhale. Exhale. Final inhale. And this time gently lower the knees and then the pelvis, and coming to find your Sphinx pose. You can untuck the toes. You can set yourself up, elbows roughly underneath the shoulders. If you want something a little bit less intense, you can take the elbows further forward in space. Listen to the back body here, to the low back. Listen to the chest to see if there's any adjustments you need to make. And see what head position feels the most comfortable as well. Maybe upright, keeping a little length through the back line of the neck. Maybe you're letting the head be heavy here, keeping it more neutral. As you feel ready, finding your stillness in the shape, being with your breath. We're here for about 5 more breaths, but listen to your body. If you need to lower down sooner, you're welcome to. As you are ready, you can gently slide the elbows apart, gently lowering the chest and the forehead to the floor. You can stay here, turn the head to one side. If you'd like, you can slide the left knee up towards the left, like a half frog pose, almost like tree pose, but on the belly. Feel free to add some padding for the left knee if it needs it. Breathe here for a few deep breaths. If you have the left knee up, you can re-extend the left leg and then slide the right knee up. extending the right leg. And then bringing the hands under the shoulders, pressing up to a tabletop position. And then head towards a child's pose. Option to keep the knees together for this one, but listen to your body. Hips towards the heels, forehead towards the floor. Arms can be extended out in front, maybe by your sides or somewhere else. Feel free to add any prop that you need for support. As you find your stillness here, take a scan through the body just to notice and be with your breath. Only when you feel ready to move again, gently pull yourself up to a tabletop position. Have your heart blocks nearby, they may come in handy. And then from here, we'll step the left foot forward and then set up for a lunge. So you might take the right knee back a little bit. Back toes can be tucked or untucked. If you like to give your spine a little more height here, you can take the blocks straight away, one for each hand. Let the pelvis be nice and heavy. Take a pause here for a couple of breaths. Notice as well if you need to adjust anything in your alignment. Maybe you want to take the left foot to the left a little bit or point the toes slightly differently. See what feels the most natural in your body. And then when you're ready, from here we'll flow half Hanuman, half split pose to lunge. So from your lunge with an inhale breath, dip the pelvis, maybe lift the heart space and the gaze a little bit as you inhale. And then as you exhale, send the hips back, front leg can extend any amount. Maybe you're folding a little bit. And then move nice and slow, inhaling to come forward, lengthen through the front body. And then exhale, hips back, lengthen through the back line of that left leg and through the back body. Your breath, your pace, your range of motion. An option to pulse here for about 5 more breaths. Or the next time the hips come back and the front leg is extended, take a pause for about 5 breaths. If you need to adjust anything else in your support or your stance, go for it. Listen to your body. wherever you are. When you're ready, with an inhale breath, come back to your lunge. And then from here, you can step the left leg back and we'll set up for the second side. If you need to stretch anything in between sides, then go for it. Stepping the right foot forward now and setting up for your lunge, adjusting anything that you need. And this side may feel a little different as well, so feel free to play around. Maybe choosing stillness a little while longer, or as you're ready to pulse, inhale breath, let the pelvis be heavy, maybe lift heart space. Exhale breath, hips back, front leg extends any amount. Inhale forward, and exhale back. If the side needs something a little different to the first, feel free to modify. Otherwise, pulse with your breath, your pace, your range of motion. Your choice once again, and keep pulsing. Or for these last 5 or so breaths, the next time your hips come back, take a pause and breathe here. Inhale breath, come forward. And a little different now. You can step the right leg back and then release your props off to the side. Hands come down to the floor and then spread the fingers nice and wide apart. Gently grip the finger pads into the mat. And then from here, tuck the toes, lift the knees, and we'll press the hips up and back for downward facing dog. And see what feels good here. Maybe you're pulsing the heels a little bit or rocking the hips. Maybe pulsing forward to a plank and then back to your down dog. And take the next 8 or so breaths anywhere you need stillness or movement. Adjusting anything you need in your stance, making the shape feel appropriate for where you're at today. Always the option to lower the knees and work from a tabletop as well. You don't have to move until you feel ready to. And from your downward facing dog, as you're ready, we'll take a big step forward for the left foot, bringing it between the hands. Make sure you have at least one of your hard blocks nearby, near the top of the mat. And then we'll flip the right foot or right heel down to the floor, right toes point towards the right. As you're ready, you can come on up and we'll find a warrior 2 stance. And so the front foot is mostly pointing forward, the back foot mostly towards the side. And check in here. You can always take the left foot a little to the left or to the right. And check in with the hips as well, see if anything else needs adjusting. The shoulder is roughly on top of the hips. Notice if there's kind of a back bend happening here, you might find a slight hug of the pubic bone towards the belly button to help the low back feel supported. Arms can extend out as you're ready. Arms are reaching, but keep just a little softness through the shoulders, through the shrug muscles. Maybe a focal point to help keep you steady is something unmoving. Notice your breath here. You can take the right hand to the right hip. Slowly start to extend the front leg towards straight. And with an inhale, reach forward with the left fingertips. And then as you exhale, you might hinge a little bit, release the left hand maybe to a block, the shin, the floor. Find a height setting that feels appropriate. Notice that right hip. If it starts to turn inwards towards the floor, see what you can do to keep it nice and open. Imagine that space across the chest as well, and you might be reaching the right arm up towards the ceiling. Notice the soles of the feet. If you notice that you're pressing more into the heel or to the toe, see if you can find an even spread through the entire sole. The next time you inhale, come all the way up. And right hand to the right hip, left arm reaches up and over, and then rebend that left knee. Reverse warrior, you might bend the left elbow, maybe catching the back of the neck, finding a stretch to the left side of the torso here. Notice the pinky toe edge of the right foot. Keep that anchored in space, especially if you feel it lifting. You can keep the legs as they are. As you inhale, come on up. And then we'll set up either for extended side angle or half moon. So for extended side angle, left hand comes towards the floor, right arm up towards the ceiling, similar to triangle for the upper body. Or if you're coming to half moon, right hand to the right hip, you might take that right foot a little closer, and you can take the block about a foot in front of the left foot. And slowly start to transfer your weight forward. And then imagine that right hip is stacked on top of the left. Right foot is flexed regardless of how high it's lifted. Keep your breath steady. Keep your gaze steady. Option to reach the right arm up towards the ceiling. Make sure you're breathing. Take a deep inhale here. Deep exhale. One last inhale wherever you are. And with your exhale, turn the gaze towards the floor, step the right foot down, and come and find a forward fold at the top of the mat. See what movement feels good as a release. Maybe swaying the hips or pedaling. Maybe that right leg needs a little shake out at the left. Whenever you feel ready, come and find your forward fold at the top of the mat. Feet, whatever distance apart feels the most comfortable for you. As much of a bend to the knees as you need to support the back. Maybe hands to opposite elbows or any other version of the shape. Find your stillness here as you're ready. From your forward fold, gently release a bind if you have it. Inhale breath, come to a halfway lift, lengthen the spine, and then sigh as you fold back in. And again like that, inhale. Exhale. Once more, inhale. Exhale. Inhale, lengthen. This time plant the palms, step to your downward facing dog. Staying here for a breath or two. Set yourself up. And then as you're ready, a big step forward with the right foot. You can spin the left heel to the floor and take a moment to find your balance. And then as you're ready, you come on up and we'll set for Warrior 2, second side. So check in here, see what angles with the feet, what proportions for the shape feel best for the body. Make sure low back and everything feels supported here. And tall spine, arms reaching, a little softness for the shrug muscles. Steady gaze, steady breath. From your Warrior 2, left hand to the left hip, front leg can extend. And then inhale breath, reach forward. Exhale breath, you might hinge, right hand, shin, block, or floor. Left hand to the left hip. Imagine that the hips are nice and open towards the side wall. Maybe reaching the left arm up towards the ceiling. Keep the legs actively pressing into the floor. Breathe. Tone the belly, press the feet to the floor, and inhale breath, come all the way up. Left hand to the left hip, right arm reaches up, and then right knee bends. Reversing your warrior, maybe catching the back of the head, finding a stretch from the right hip up to the right elbow. Inhale breath, come on up. And you can bring the right hand to the floor, to your block, either staying here for your extended side angle, Or if you're coming to half moon, left hand to the left hip, maybe hop the right foot a little closer. And block, take it about a foot in front of the right foot, and then start to transfer your weight over. As the weight comes further towards the right foot, the left leg can lift. Don't worry too much about the height, but keep the foot flexed. Imagine you're stomping that wall behind. Imagine the left hip is stacked on top of the right. Breathe here. Maybe left arm up towards the ceiling as well. Last couple deep breaths if there's anything that needs to soften. Wherever you are, take one last inhale. And with your exhale, you can step the left foot forward. And coming towards a forward fold, give the hips a little movement, see what feels good here. And when you're ready, you can come and find your forward fold, any expression of the shape. And if for any reason forward fold doesn't feel good right now, feel free to find a squat instead, or you can come to standing. And from your forward fold, as you feel ready to, you can slowly start to bend the knees, gently lowering the bum down to the floor. Once you touch down, see maybe a little windshield wiper will feel good here. You can extend the legs, maybe tap. As you're ready, we'll sit up for deer pose. So you can turn the left leg, left shin, mostly parallel to the top edge of the mat. And then you can help the right leg around you, right shin mostly parallel to the long edge of the mat. Sometimes the right knee might need a little padding here, so feel free to add your soft block in. You could also take it underneath the left hip, especially if you feel like you're leaning quite heavily towards the left. It might help you feel a little more balanced and center. So find your version of this shape. If having either or both feet closer to the body feels better or makes it more accessible, then go for it. It might be helpful to have the hard blocks nearby as well. One option is to stay upright here, or you can think about folding. You might play around a little bit with where you're folding, maybe a little more towards the knee, towards the foot, the middle of the shin. See what feels like the best stretch for today. You might be coming down onto elbows, or you can use the blocks to bring the floor a little closer. You could also use the blocks to support the head or anything else. Make sure it feels like a pain-free expression as you settle into it. And find your stillness as you're ready. Gently start to lift yourself back up. If you have props, you can remove them. You can slowly bring that right leg back around. You might pause in stillness here or give yourself a little windshield wiper. See what feels like the best release. When you're ready, we'll set up for the second side. So for this one, right leg forward, right shin parallel to the top edge, left shin parallel to the long edge. And again, check in to see what the best use of your props would be for this shape. You can always adjust, and we're not completely symmetrical side to side. So if the side needs to be something a little different, then go for it. Likewise, as you're preparing to fold, if you're folding, think about where you'd like to fold from. And it might end up being somewhere a little different from the first side. So take whatever you need here. And take your time finding your pain-free expression, and then finding your stillness. And even here, if you notice the mind starts to wander, see if you can guide it back to your breath, back to whatever you're experiencing here. And gently start to lift yourself back up. And removing any props. This time releasing to face the long edge of the mat. You can bring the legs a little closer together. Give yourself that windshield wiper side to side. Awesome. And then as you're ready, have your hard blocks nearby as well. We'll set up for a wide-legged fold. So you might choose to sit up off of your soft block just to elevate the hips a little bit. And if sitting like this feels really effortful for the spine, it might be useful to sit up a little bit higher as well. So listen to your body, take your version of this shape. And this may feel like plenty, so you're welcome to stay right here the whole time. Work with your breath. You could even take the hands behind you. If you do want to fold, just go in nice and slow. Listen to what's going on in your body. I have some tightness in the inner groin muscles on the left-hand side. So I'm just going to listen to that and only go as far as I can without that sensation getting too intense. So somewhere that you can still breathe, somewhere that it feels workable. Find your version of the shape and then settle into it. As you do feel ready, you can slowly start to lift yourself up, maybe guiding the legs a little closer together. You can give the backs of the knees a little tap or windshield wiper the feet, maybe lean on the hands and puff up the chest for a counter stretch for the spine. And then keeping your props nearby, you can swing the legs back towards the front of the mat, bending the knees, planting the feet to the floor, maybe scooping the flesh of the bum out of the way. And setting for boat pose so hands can be behind the knees or in front of them. Take a moment to lengthen the spine, broaden the chest, soften the shoulder blades down the back. You can stay right here, or maybe you're lifting the legs up as well. Maybe you're releasing the arms for more challenge. Make sure you're still breathing wherever you are. Last few deep breaths. And from here, we'll lower down to the back. So if it's an option to lower straight down, then go for it. Otherwise, you might lower the feet first and then slowly bring the spine down to the floor. Once you touch down, we'll keep the bend to the knees. You can walk the feet in so that they're roughly underneath them. Knees, feet, roughly outer hip distance apart. See what feels the most natural. And then find your robot arms. Bring the elbows by the rib cage. Fingertips point towards the ceiling. Notice the shoulders, the elbows. Notice the soles of the feet. And gently start to press them to the floor. And as you inhale, start to lift the pelvis up towards the ceiling. Straight away, if there's any pinching going on or something else to look out for, then please lower down or modify your shape. You can stack your blocks underneath the pelvis for a more supportive version. You could also think about extending the arms down the mat, maybe walking the shoulder blades together to interlace the hands. Keep the feet pressing down, keep the pelvis nice and high, maybe lifting the chin to help you breathe a little more smoothly. And listen to your body, and whenever you need to come down, you can. And once you lower down, you can take the feet wide, rest the knees together. Otherwise, you might stay in your bridge pose for 5 or so more breaths. And lowering as you feel ready to. And touching down, taking a pause, feet wide, knees together, maybe hands somewhere on the body. As you're ready, we'll set up for a twist. So you might choose to take your soft block in between the knees, or you can save it for padding. And gently squeeze it and take the hips over towards the left, and then let the knees lower down towards the right. Notice what the shoulders are doing here. It's not a bad thing if the left one's hovering, but maybe sliding a prop underneath so it can feel more grounded might be helpful. Maybe cactus or arms extended. If you like to take the gaze down towards the left, then go for it. And find your version of the twist, and then settle into it as you're ready. If the head is turned, gently bring that back to center. And then squeezing your prop, you can slowly bring the legs back up to center. We'll head straight to the second side, so you can scoot hips to midline, then over to the right, and then slowly let the knees come down towards the left. If you need to change something in the upper body or anywhere else, then go for it. And listening to your body, finding your expression, and finding your stillness as you're ready. Gently, you bring the head back to center. And then you can squeeze the block, lift the knees, scoot the hips back to center. And gently removing your prop off to the side, and take a few moments here wherever you need to be, maybe a gentle windshield wiper, some counter twists or counter stretches. It might feel nice to extend the legs long down the mat, maybe the arms up the mat for a full body stretch. And the next shape we'll set up will be for Shavasana. So check in here to see what your body's asking for, any quiet, symmetrical shape. Feel free to move your props around if you need a little more room. The legs can stay extended. You could come back to butterfly legs. Maybe the arms are somewhere by your sides or somewhere on the body. See if you need to adjust anything in your space, maybe lowering lights or music. And then see if there's anything that you can adjust to make the shape feel just a little more comfortable. You might do that now. And then when you're ready, find your rest here. Let your breath return to its natural inhale and exhale. And soften anything you don't need. And gently bring your attention back to the space. Deepening the breath to reawaken the body. And as you're ready, finding a little movement, maybe wiggling the fingers and the toes, maybe rotating the wrists and the ankles. You might extend the arms up overhead, give yourself that full body stretch. You might connect the knees into the chest and wrap the arms around the shins, maybe forehead to the knees, curl up into a ball. And give yourself a hug and a squeeze, maybe a little rock. See how you'd like to transition to a seat. You might roll down to one side for a few breaths, or you can gently start to rock and roll your way up to a seat. Take your time to transition, there's no rush. And eventually come and find any comfortable seated position. And gently settle the hips and gently lengthen the spine here. Hands can rest wherever they've landed, wherever they feel comfortable. And take these last few moments of your practice to check back in, to notice. And then you may connect the hands in at the heart and maybe bow the chin towards the chest. Thank you for sharing your breath in your practice today. Namaste. Thanks for joining me for this week's Hatha practice. And my name is Nicholas. If you have any questions, please reach out and enjoy the rest of your week.